Hello, this is Patrick, one of the wild guys, and this is my YouTube intro. We will be canoeing and rafting rivers and lakes and even the Pacific Ocean in the Northwest Territories, Yukon, and British Columbia. Thanks for coming along with us. Now I know what they mean by just nodding off a little bit. But Mark isn't the only one that's having some Z's here. Looks like we got another wild guy that's went down for the count as well. Glenn, though, is wide awake, fully alert, just keeping an eye out for any animals or any danger around the next corner. He's ready for Series 3.
There's Bob, just a giving her. Hi, Bob. There's Mark.
Hi, Pat.
You see he's up now, he's not nodding her off anymore. Got a stiff neck, but other than that, he's okay.
We're just going by a black bear now. It's a bit shaky, but we'll try and get in close and get a shot of him. There he is. Looks better there. John and I took another channel down the Yukon, and shortly after the bear, we spotted this moose. The bulls generally lose their horns in February or March. By July, they should have horns and velvet that's coming back. So this is no doubt a cow. It's got a short bell as well. It's another way of determining it's a cow. Seeing wild animals in the wilderness is always very memorable.
While we're moseying along, we're waiting for our partners to catch up. They don't know we've seen a moose. They'll find out. Looks like we're getting close to the White River. You can see the one set of mountains or hills coming in from that direction and coming to a point there with the other set coming in here. So it'll probably be the White River coming in down there and joining up with the Yukon, and it'll make one big White River, I would imagine.
A lot of volcanic ash there.
That's my partner in crime back there. We snuck through a heavy flow area and seen a moose.
A little map just to show you where we come from and where we're at. This is a print of the White River as it joined the Yukon. You're soon going to see the demarcation line where the White River flows into the Yukon. The White River is glacier fed and contains large amounts of suspended sediment. It transports 19 million tons of sediment per year in the upper part of its basin. This dramatically changes the clarity of the Yukon River, which remains sediment-laden from the confluence to its mouth. The White River is a tributary about 200 miles long of the Yukon River in the U.S. state of Alaska and the Canadian territory of the Yukon. The Alaska Highway crosses the White River near Beaver Creek. You can see where the white ash comes from. We've got to start to focus on finding a 5-star campsite now. I guess that's what we need. We did very well. Most of our camp spots were not just 5-star. They were millions of stars, unless it was cloudy. In July, the month we're traveling, normally there is no real darkness. These are just prints I put in.
As you probably remember from some of those pictures we took earlier, from that vigorous paddling, most of the guys are tired out now, so we're looking for a place to camp.
We found a camping spot finally, so we were resting for the night. We'll wander down and see what the wild guys are up to. You never know what they're going to be up to. They're fairly innovative, and when we get out into the woods here, we try to make our life just a little more comfortable and be able to have some scenery while we're involved in other activities. Billy, our crew chief, and Mark are digging a hole in the ground here. They've got to be up to something, so we may just keep an eye on them and see if we can figure out what they're building. I can see the leaves moving in the air, so there must be a fair amount of wind here, and from what I see, a steady movement of air might be a good thing for this particular project, because this looks to be...
Is a loo? A John?
Latrine.
A latrine? Okay, so the hole goes there, the seat goes above it, and you'll notice they've got a little handy roller. That's where the toilet tissue will go on. And I'm sure we'll probably have a magazine or something to read while we're here. And
the outhouse they built is somewhat out of sight of the camp that we have. Plus you'll be able to watch anything or any animals coming down the river. so it's got a nice scenic view as well. The nice thing about going down a river like the Yukon River, that every corner you go around there's different scenery. Remember back a little ways where we seen the bear and the moose, we had a lot of green vegetation going in. Here it's a fairly straight bank going up. It's always changing wherever you're at.
Well, we figured we'd get her all in the sun, but we needed a little bit of rain too. So we're just paddling up a storm in a rainstorm. Lightning is striking all around us, but we're fearlessly carrying on.
Our sunny clothes are put away and our rain gear and warm clothing is brought out again.
Well, we noticed up and down the Yukon from place to place there would be various different mining expeditions. Looks like they're digging in the gravel there to try and find some gold.
We should drop in and pick up a little bit of gold for ours.
Well, we met some kind of a rig here. We're not sure what it is. Looks like some sort of barge. You got fuel tanks on it. Probably some of these mining places up and down the Yukon River. He's probably going to bring them up some fuel.
The post office and the telegraph station and the trading post and the rest of the community were washed away. It just left Ruby Burns and his family back then. You'll notice that the bank is getting washed away by the river. But when we come by, look how close it is to the river. Many people, years back, but not only years back, but even now, will build a home back from a river only to find out that the banks are washed out, their front yard is gone, and their home is in jeopardy. Rudy Burns started up the bulldozer and pulled back his buildings as the river ate away at his front yard. Where'd that front yard go? Looks like somebody should try and start up that bulldozer because them buildings need another pull. The river's getting very close. This is a map of the river we covered today. These are the Indian spirit houses.
Oh boy. There's a grizzly looking guy.
I'd like to say a little bit about Billy. If you're going to have a group that's going to canoe, you need a Billy along with you, because there's talkers and then there's doers. Billy was a doer. Without Billy, we probably wouldn't have the group together or out here. That's why you'll often hear us refer to Billy as our crew boss.
It's going to be our last night of camping, and we just had supper. Supper was very good. See, everybody's sort of busy doing something or other.
This is John. He's quite a talented guy. He has a lot of interludes and music for us along the way. John has cooked some of the best bannock I ever ate. Had raisins in it, tastes just great. At least I hope they were raisins. John also did a lot of work in the planning for these trips.
That's the other tent. I have a feeling that the heavy waves might wash in there, catch them, but...
I guess they feel fairly secure there by the river.
Waterfront property at its best.
And that's, you can see the skyline. I predicted we aren't going to get any rain. No, it's going by us on the right side and the left side, so we'll see what's going to happen. Glenn is putting those things away for the night, tying up putting the canoes in where they're safe, so make sure we got a canoe in the morning. Thanks, Glenn. And we got our little stash over here. We cover that over with plastic every night just to make sure that it's going to be okay. And that's our view we're going to have tonight. Not a bad view, not as well as we had the night before, but it's still a pretty good view. They're still down there doing dishes. I don't really stop taking this movie just yet because I'll get caught in that kind of work. As you can tell, we got everything pretty well organized. It's all set out there, spread about. It's like a chicken when it scratches its grain before it eats it. But we'll get it tidied up and put away before we go to bed tonight. That's where we just come down, just past a number of different rivers. We had the White River, the Stewart, and a whole bunch of other rivers. So this river is fairly large here. That's only half of it. The other half is over on the other side. We're on an island. The other half goes down that channel right down there. I think that tomorrow we'll probably be in Dawson, so we'll have all kinds of pictures of Dawson. I don't know what kind of pictures we're going to have of going down there. It depends. We had a rainy day today, so we couldn't take that many pictures. So we'll see. Once we get into Dawson, we'll get a few more pictures there. Just a different angle. The way the sun is shining on that, even though there's cloudy, there's a little hole for it to poke through.
Okay, she's rolling.
She's rolling.
She's rolling.
Here, you want to slide over? I'll slide.
Going to be the last morning on the Yukon River. We expect to pull into Dawson City today. So everybody's going to have a chance to express themselves, and maybe we'll do a little bit of pre-planning on where our next trip is going to go. I guess we could say this is going to be an open mic this morning while we're sitting here drinking our coffee and planning the day. We noticed going down the Yukon River, and others rivers as well, that the First Nations love their salmon. Well, so do I. And they certainly love it smoked. And so we thought maybe we'd try that out this morning, and we don't have any salmon, but we're doing some smoking on this open mic meeting, so we're going to get a little bit smoky here. See how that works out for us. After open mic like this, we can just jump in the Yukon River and get all cleaned up again. Matter of fact, John did jump in and was getting all shined up and cleany. And here comes a number of canoes floating right by John, full of women from Germany. What could he do? He stood up and waved and smiled, and they waved back. It all worked out in the end.
4:30 in the morning. This is our usual wake-up time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So,
You
we
know,
usually
right-
have to steel ourselves with a couple of pots of coffee before we take on the great Yukon River.
Yeah. We're usually on the river by 6.
The plan was we were going to have a meeting to figure out where we're going to go for the next trip. But we don't have an external mic, and so the volume wasn't very good. So we'll just have to keep you informed before the next trip.
Yeah, we haven't had to use the bear scare. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe in Dawson City.
Doesn't seem possible. In a few short hours, we'll be back in Dawson, checking our email.
No email!
Paying bills over the phone. Planning the next trip.
Yeah.
After suggesting the Nile and some of the exotic rivers around the world, we come back to Canada and reality and started to talk about them here in Canada again. Yes, one that's designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. That is the Nahanni. And we started to talk about the details of that. So I'll just let you listen in.
So you can only go down the Nahanni in a raft?
Some of the pictures that I saw, you could maybe do it in a kayak. But, you would want to do it in a canoe.
Rough water the whole way?
I don't think so. I saw some. Rick showed me pictures of like this. The mountains around it are spectacular. They stopped and they did some day hikes.
Oh,
They
yeah.
took hiking boots and equipment, and did some of the valleys that sort of head down to it. Some of it's just gorgeous.
Some low standards that we
You'd
couldn't
have to
meet.
sign an ethics statement.
Yeah. I will always wear my personal flotation
Oh,
device.
you will not float backwards down the river.
Or at least one person shall be awake.
Yeah.
I don't think we can measure that.
We've rewritten the code of canoeing.
It is always good to stay at least 3 inches away from the rocky shore once hurtling down the river backwards. I'm gonna have just a snicker more of that granola. But you don't mind,
finish it.
we
No.
rationing it down for the plate.
Finish it.
Yeah, that's.
Comes the sun, little dawn. It's been a long, cold, lonely winter.
Between the smoke and no external mic, we may have to cut this here little open mic deal short because we got no mic. It'll be our last day on the Yukon River if everything works out well, and as always, we've got far more food than we're going to eat. So anybody that wants to eat anything, boy, they can just dive in. That's going to cut our weight down. That'll be great. We had a great recipe for our coffee. We had a container that would hold about 2 liters of coffee. We would put it over the fire and bring it to a rolling boil. Then we would pour a cup of coffee grounds into it. We would then take it off the fire. And boy, was that great coffee. And if you wanted to make it even a little bit better, we would just put a little bit more sliva in it. And boy, was it great. Shortly after, just a matter of seconds, we would then pour a half or 3/4 of a cup of cold water in it, which would take the grounds down to the bottom. If Timmy's or Starbucks got a hold of the recipe for our campfire coffee, I tell you, that business would be going really fast. You better buy some stocks in it if they do. We had a small canteen of slivovitsa that we used for our morning coffee, and the discussion was, I wonder why that slivovitsa bottle never gets empty. It just continues to have sliva in it.
Good for what ails me.
Can't quite figure out how it is that this never gets any emptier, though.
I generally fill it up every night.
In the bush. Just still back there.
That's Bob there with the slivovitsa that he's taken back to put into safe storage. So much for our open mic, our breakfast, our coffee, and slivovitsa. I guess we gotta start to move on down to make it into Dawson this afternoon. This is Bob. Bob is younger than us and in good shape. His canoe partner was John, younger and in good shape too. We had to try and slow him down on the Lake Labarge, so somebody tied a rock to the back of his canoe so he wouldn't go so fast. I don't know if we ever figured who that was. We got to get back to work and get everything cleaned up and washed so that we can get into Dawson City by this afternoon. They got most everything done, so I guess I can stop filming now. Oh, I guess we better get the tents down as well. Don't want to leave them behind. I'll have to get somebody on that right away, I guess. John is down washing the dishes. He was whistling a little tune a while ago, but he stopped. But if we just wait a moment, he'll be whistling again or have some other melody that you'll be able to hear. He's a better singer than the rest of us, I'll say. Bill's just getting the stuff ready to be packed into the canoes now. The canoes are just patiently waited to get loaded up. They never got those tents down yet, have they? I guess they'll have to pick it up a little bit. Oh well, we're going to be on the water right away now. Just got on the river, and here's this black duck. Well, what kind of a duck is he? I don't know. I looked at some stuff, and he could be a goldeneye, but don't take my word for it. I'm just going to call him a black duck. I want to pick up some clean water for the last leg of our journey. So we're going up Indian River. We hope to get some clean water and also maybe see some other animals up here. It looks like a nice body of water. Lots of times you'll see cabins inside as well. So we'll be looking for things like that and remnants left behind that will tell us a story about the people who were here and what they were doing while they were here. So here we go. With the black duck as our guide, we're heading up the river to find that cabin. We went up Indian River further than we expected, looking for something that would give us information on the history. There's a storm coming in, so we could pay for it down the road. I watch a TV show about Gold Rush and Big Al. Big Al is on the Indian River. Big Al must come in from the highway because no traffic coming through here. We're going to have lots of mosquitoes ahead. And pretty soon there's the black duck. The black duck's still going. See him bobbing up and down there? So I guess it's okay to continue on. Black ducks can't be wrong. We have a bank on the side of the river. You can see where the animals come down for the water. The sound of the water bubbling down the creek is nice. The black duck's got something he wants to show us. He's heading down. You see him nodding with his beak. So there's going to be something exciting down here. We're just going to wait and be patient. Research and planning can make your trip a lot more enjoyable. We found out there was going to be a lot of mosquitoes in places. So you notice John has got his mosquito net on so that he doesn't get bit. But sometimes you get bit right through the mosquito net and you'll have to bang, get her like that. Oh well, it's working out well for us. Everybody seems pretty relaxed, just slapping the odd mosquito and watching for the black duck. We got a lot of confidence in that black duck. He's leading us to something important, so we're just going to stay with him for a while. Canoeing on a river that you've never been on before, or that you'll probably never be on again, is so exciting because around every corner there's something new. Not like a lake that you can see many miles further down, and the scenery doesn't change that often. We just seen our black duck just behind us, And now you're seeing the animal trail coming down to the water to have a drink. We know there's a storm coming up. You can look at the clouds there. We could get hit hard, but we're distracted right now. We're going up Indian River, looking for animals, clean water, and we've never been on this river before. It's a small one, but we're looking down here just to see if we can see anything new. Soon we're going to have to turn around and head back down to the Yukon River to finish our journey. I got this feeling we're going to get mighty wet before we make it to Dawson by the look of those clouds. But we'll find out pretty soon. There's something about the Indian River. Even though the clouds are staring us in the face, we're just continuing on down. We're going quiet and slow, hoping to see a moose or some other animals, or maybe some old cabins down here. Wow, trust in that black duck paid off. We got a cabin ahead of us. Great. I knew that black duck wouldn't let us down.
We see a little cabin here. So we'll stop for a minute. Cabin along the Indian River. We stopped to take a look just to see what it's like. Well, we've seen an inside the cabin and taking a look at some of the books laying around in the cabin.
This is a book from Kathy.
An old saw.
Here's an old wheelbarrow. A metal wheel. Can opener and spoon and fork.
Bicycle.
An old kettle under there. Look at this wheelbarrow. We used to have one of those when I was a kid. It was a little bin.
Ski off.
Here's an old drill auger.
Is that for ice fishing?
It doesn't have a pointed end on
Ski.
it.
Oh, is that right? Ski is off a Alpine.
Double-tracked snowmobile. John is checking things out.
Found a trail in behind. Always find a trail. I like to go see where the trail goes. Might be into a meadow. Water. Take a look anyways. The tub for having a bath. Just coming back out now.
I'm just heading back down the trail now to the cabin and Indian River. We're going to have to make a run down the Indian River, back out to the Yukon, and head for Dawson City because it's starting to look pretty serious as regards to the storm that's coming in. So we're going to be on our way. Just a few second pause to look at these old parts from what they might be out of on the way back down to the Indian River. Finally, we're canoeing into Dawson City. There's a storm and the rain is just pounding us. I guess it's a way of saying, welcome to the Wild Guys. This is an aerial shot of Dawson City. Not the day that we paddled in, that's for sure, but an earlier date. We paddled 460 miles or 736 kilometers, plus all the tributaries that we took along the way. The SS Kino was built in 1922, and it was the last powered sternwheeler to go into Dawson in 1960. The sternwheeler days are over. Everything was planned out very well. Matter of fact, as we got there and the rain stopped, here's the vehicle from the rental company to pick up the canoes and take them back to Whitehorse. Just look at the smiles on their face. Yeah, another bucket list item got knocked off. Don't let life pass you by. Get out and see your wilderness. Mark said he got all wet from that rainstorm we had. I don't know, I'll let you determine that.
There he is. They're walking up on, up to, I guess you call it Main Street. There's actually a car going by now. And
now the planning is turned over to Pat. Wonder how he did. Our gear laid wet on the dock. Not very well. See, Pat figured that let's not plan this. It'll create a lot of excitement. And yes, it created a fair amount of excitement. We're just discussing where we're going to stay and how we're going to get back to Whitehorse.
well, the boys are having their first coffee here.
You know, that Pat guy, he's a different kind of guy. He figured if we had too many plans, it would get a little bit boring and uneventful. And so he wanted a little excitement, and so there's no plans. Let's see how that works out. In a half an hour, we had 2 rooms and They were nice and cozy and warm.
These are our 2 motels. I didn't become part of the selection crew, whether I went in the new or the old. Guess which one I was in. It wasn't that bad. We had a good time. Now there's a guy that did make the selection, and which part is he in? He's smiling too. Yeah.
He's a happy man.
That's what happened.
I noticed that Patrick guy got cleaned up and got to work, trying to get his plans done as quickly as possible. Don't want to miss that airplane leaving Whitehorse to Vancouver. We'll be up here for quite a while. We've come to the end of Series 3. We'll be spending a few more days in Dawson before we go back to Whitehorse and back down to Kelowna. So we'll see you in Series 4. In Series 4, you're going to see all the fun that we had in Dawson City. Then, like we said, back home again. So join us and stay with us in Dawson City for a few days, and then we're going to be planning on hitching a ride up to Whitehorse, catching a plane, and heading back home. We will be landing in Vancouver with all our gear, and then heading out from there, going home. Our next trip will be on Myrtle Lake in West Arm. See you then.